I never thought I'd witness this in my own living room. She slapped me, right in front of our children. My heart shattered, and then he walked in. The billionaire she's been hiding, standing there like he owned everything. Won't believe what happened next. Before we dive in, hit like, share this story, and subscribe, because the truth you're about to see deserves to be heard. I never imagined life could twist so violently in a single moment. 8 years of marriage, 2 beautiful children, a home I thought was built on love and trust. All of it crumbling before my eyes, and I didn't even see it coming. At first, everything seemed ordinary, almost perfect. Our mornings were a dance of breakfast chaos, coffee spills, and laughter that filled every corner of the house. I believed we were happy. I believed in her. But happiness, I've learned, can be a mask, a delicate lie hiding the sharp edges of betrayal. It started subtly, the kind of things you brush off, the quiet little moments that gnaw at your mind without making a sound. She began disappearing at odd hours, coming home with a smile that never reached her eyes. Her phone always tucked away, screens lit in secret. I told myself I was imagining it, that trust was the bedrock of our life, that maybe I was being paranoid. But deep down, my instincts whispered truths I refused to hear. Wanted my family, my children, to feel safe. Wanted to believe in the woman I married, the mother of our kids, the love of my life. Then came the subtle shifts, the cold glances across dinner tables, the tense silences that lasted hours, the excuses that piled up faster than I could question them. It wasn't rage, at least not yet. It was a creeping unease, a feeling of falling while standing still. I'd lie awake at night, listening to the quiet of our home, trying to convince myself that everything was fine, all the while feeling it unravel beneath my fingers. And even as I noticed the change, even as the warning bells rang louder each day, I had no idea how deep the betrayal ran. Because then one evening, the truth that I had been denying so long began to take shape. The lies, the whispers, the hidden messages. They weren't small mistakes or innocent secrets. She had been weaving a double life, a secret world where love and loyalty meant nothing, and I was the last to know. And that's when I realized some betrayals are not just personal. They're calculated, cold, and designed to leave scars that aren't just on the heart, but etched into the life you built, the home you trusted, and the children who watch and learn every devastating lesson. That evening, everything felt heavier than usual. Like the air in the house had thickened, pressing down on me, my chest tight with a dread I couldn't shake. I tried to talk to her gently at first, hoping to catch her off guard with calm, rational words. But the moment I opened my mouth, the warmth I once felt in her gaze was gone. Her eyes, once so familiar, were sharp, distant, almost amused at my discomfort. She smiled, but it didn't reach her soul, and that smile, it made my stomach twist. I remember trying to laugh it off, trying to convince the kids it was just another ordinary evening. Their innocent chatter filled the room, their small hands reaching for their food, unaware of the storm brewing just feet away. I watched them, and my heart broke a little more, realizing that the world I had promised to protect them from was already seeping into our living room. I could feel it, the tension, the sharp edges of a confrontation waiting to explode. She kept glancing at her phone, that same secret device she'd guarded for months. My instincts screamed, warning me, but I tried to stay calm. I reminded myself not to react, not to give her the satisfaction of knowing she had already won this silent game. But the more I held back, the more the room seemed to shrink, the walls closing in, as if aware of the betrayal they had witnessed so often in silence. Then it happened, one of those subtle shifts, a tilt of her chin, a twitch in her lips. I knew before it even left her mouth that the storm was coming. I leaned in, careful, measured, asking a question about the kids. Something simple, innocent, and she snapped. Her voice, sharp and cutting, filled the space. The laughter of our children swallowed in the crackle of tension. I could see the fire in her eyes, and in that instant, I realized this wasn't just anger, it was a performance, calculated, cruel, meant to humiliate me. Every instinct screamed to walk away, but I stood my ground, breathing in the fear, the rage, the confusion, all at once. And in that moment, the world narrowed to just the three of Uzmihir. And our children caught in the eye of a storm I never thought I'd survive. Little did I know that this tension, this unbearable weight, was just the prelude to a moment that would shatter everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and betrayal. I froze the moment it happened. 1 second, I was standing there trying to hold my composure, and the next, her hand was across my face. Sharp, unforgiving, and humiliating. The sound of skin against skin echoed in the room like a gunshot, reverberating through my chest. My children's eyes widened, tiny faces pale with shock, not understanding what they had just witnessed. My heart slammed against my ribs, and for a moment, the world stopped, leaving only the sting of betrayal and the sharp taste of humiliation. I stepped back instinctively, my own hand trembling, not from pain, but from the rage and disbelief boiling inside me. How could someone I trusted, loved, built a life with, do this in front of our children? My mind raced, a chaotic storm of emotions, anger, hurt, shame, sorrow, its one crashing into the next with relentless force. I wanted to shout, to scream, to make her feel a fraction of the pain she had just inflicted. But the sound of my children's small, shaky breaths stopped me. I had to remain calm for them, even as the foundation of my life cracked beneath me. She didn't flinch. She stood there, eyes glinting with defiance, a cruel smirk tugging at her lips. It wasn't just anger, it was satisfaction, almost pride. That realization hit me like a second slap. She had planned this, rehearsed this moment, and I had walked right into her trap. The room felt smaller, suffocating, each corner echoing with the unspoken betrayal that had been brewing for months. The lies and secrets that now revealed their ugly truth. I looked at my children again, and my chest tightened even more. Their trust, their sense of safety, had been broken in an instant. I felt the weight of every stolen moment, every whispered lie, every hidden phone call pressing down on me. And yet, somewhere deep inside, a spark ignited, quiet, burning determination. This wasn't the end. It couldn't be. Betrayal was. Sharp, cruel, and painful. Yes. But it could be met with justice, with karma. I would survive this for me, for my children, and the reckoning that would follow would be unforgettable. I had barely caught my breath when the door opened, and there he was. I don't even know how to describe him without feeling the weight of every betrayal he represented. Tall, imposing, and impossibly confident, he stepped into our living room like he owned it. The kind of man whose presence commands attention, whose every movement drips with arrogance and power. And my chest tightened, my heart pounding, and I could feel the anger coiling tighter with every step he took. He didn't look at me at first. His eyes, cold and calculating, went straight to her, lingering as though she were a prize he had won, a conquest he wanted to flaunt. And that's when I understood this wasn't just a man. It was the architect of my humiliation, the one who had been whispered about, the phantom I had tried to ignore. She looked back at him with that same look I had seen too many times on his expensive social media posts: adulation, submission, and secret delight. My children clutched each other, sensing the storm I had been trying to contain. The room felt smaller, the walls pressing in, suffocating, as if every lie, every betrayal we had lived through had manifested into this single moment. I could feel the tension humming in the air, thick enough to touch, as the billionaire walked closer, his expensive watch catching the light, a smirk playing on his lips. He was calm, composed, untouchable, and it drove my blood to boil. I wanted to speak, to shout, to demand answers, but my voice caught in my throat. There was no reasoning here, no logic. This was power and privilege staring me in the face, and she was laughing silently, her slap still burning on my cheek. And yet, beneath the shock, beneath the sting and the humiliation, a different feeling started to grow, a slow, smoldering fire. This moment, this entrance, this arrogance, it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a reckoning they would never see coming. I took a deep breath, steadying myself, focusing on my children, feeling their tiny hands in mine. I realized something then: he might be rich. He might think he owns the world, but he didn't own me. And he would learn that karma has a way of humbling even the most untouchable. And when it struck, it would be unstoppable. The air was electric, thick with anger and disbelief, and I could feel every heartbeat echoing in my chest. I looked at her, the woman I had loved, trusted, and built a life with, and I realized she had become a stranger in the most cruel way. Her eyes held no remorse, no hint of guilt, only a smirk that pierced me deeper than any slap ever could. The man standing beside her radiated power, but also a smug sense of victory. As if he had orchestrated this entire spectacle just to see me crumble. I swallowed the lump in my throat, forcing myself to stay steady for the children. Their eyes darted between us, confused, frightened, searching for some reassurance that the world they knew wasn't falling apart. I had to be their anchor, even as my own world disintegrated around me. I spoke, my voice low but firm, trying to pierce the tension, asking the questions I had been holding in for months. Why, who, and how could this happen under my nose? She laughed, sharp and cruel, and my chest tightened. Why? I repeated, louder this time, my voice trembling but unwavering. Her answer came not in words, but in the arrogance dripping from every gesture, every glance she exchanged with him. They didn't need to explain, the betrayal was written all over their faces. Silent confession that cut me deeper than any confrontation ever could. And then it hit me, the full scope of it. This wasn't just about her. It was about him, about the thrill of power, the thrill of humiliation, the thrill of watching me, the father of her children, falter. The realization made my blood boil, but it also sharpened something inside me. I was angry, yes, but I was also seeing clearly for the first time. Their arrogance, their sense of untouchability, was their weakness. And karma would find them. I breathed in, steadying the fire that had been building for months, and looked at my children again. I knew I had to act, not recklessly, but decisively. This was a betrayal that demanded response, a reckoning that would not be denied. I wouldn't allow their arrogance to dictate my fate or the future of the children who deserved so much better. And as the room pulsed with tension, with anger, with the weight of every hidden secret finally revealed, I felt the first stirrings of a plan that would ensure the scales of justice and karma finally tipped in our favor. In the middle of all that chaos, her arrogance, his smug silence, my children's trembling breath, something inside me finally snapped into place. It wasn't rage. It wasn't helplessness. It was clarity. A sharp, cold realization that everything I was feeling, every sting, every humiliation, every injustice, was shaping me into someone stronger than I had ever been. The pain that had been drowning me slowly began to burn, turning into a quiet fire that lit the corners of my mind with purpose. As the two of them stood side by side, proud of the mess they had created, I felt myself stepping back, not out of fear, but out of strategy. I needed space, a breath of distance to see the bigger picture. And when I stepped back, everything became clearer than crystal. I wasn't losing. I was waking up to their manipulation, their selfishness, their foolish belief that they were untouchable. I watched them. I early watched them and saw exactly what they were. Two people so drunk on ego and secrecy that they couldn't see the storm gathering right in front of them. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to fight back in that moment. I only needed to listen to the voice rising inside me, the one whispering that betrayal like this never goes unanswered. Karma may move slowly, but when it arrives, it cuts deeper than any revenge ever could. That night, after the shouting finally died down and the house fell into a suffocating silence, I sat alone in the dim hallway, listening to my children breathe softly in their sleep, and something inside me shifted forever. I realized I wasn't fighting for her or for the marriage she had already buried in secrets. I was fighting for them, for their safety, their peace, their future. And to protect them, I had to be smarter than my emotions, smarter than their betrayal. I began mapping out the truth, one thought at a time. Her lies, his arrogance, their mistakes. Every crack in their story became a stepping stone in my plan. I would gather everything: proof, patterns, timelines, quietly, calmly. The way someone prepares for a storm they know they will dominate. This wasn't just about confronting betrayal anymore. It was about reclaiming control. And in that quiet hallway, with my children sleeping behind me and the weight of betrayal pressing on my shoulders, I made a promise they would regret ever underestimating me. And karma would come for them both. The days that followed were strangely quiet, almost too quiet, as if the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to break. They thought I was shattered, broken, defeated, powerless. And honestly, that was the greatest advantage I had. They expected anger, outbursts, desperation. But instead I moved like a man made of calm steel, silent, focused, and more dangerous than they could ever imagine. Every lie she told, every insult she whispered under her breath, every moment she flaunted him in front of me, each one became another thread in the web I was weaving. I collected everything: screenshots, messages, financial inconsistencies, patterns in her routine. Even the nights she thought she was being careful, slipping out to meet him, unaware I already knew every step she took. The truth built itself like a fortress around me. And once I had it all once, every detail fell into place. I felt something inside me ignite. This wasn't revenge powered by rage anymore. This was justice. Justice for me. Justice for my children. Justice for the years I had given to someone who had thrown them away like they meant nothing. The moment karma arrived, it was almost poetic. It began with her voice, shrill and panicked, waking me early one morning. She stormed into the living room, phone shaking in her hand, screaming that her billionaire lover had vanished, disappeared, completely gone. His accounts frozen, his business under investigation, his luxurious world collapsing faster than he had once smirked at me. I watched her crumble. The same woman who once slapped me in front of my children, now shaking with fear, begging for answers she would never receive. And I stood there, calm, steady, almost eerily silent, because she didn't know what I knew. She didn't know that the information I gathered, every hidden transaction, every shady business trail, every message she sent had been anonymously forwarded to the right people: investigators, authorities, financial regulators, all without my name ever being mentioned. Her reactions were the purest definition of karma: the panic, the guilt, the realization that the man she betrayed me for had his own skeletons, and I had simply let the truth find him. As she collapsed onto the couch, sobbing, I felt no satisfaction in her pain. What I felt was closure, peace, the quiet justice of watching karma walk through the same door he once entered with arrogance. This was the moment I reclaimed my life. This was the moment they both learned no betrayal goes unanswered. The house was finally quiet. No shouting, no tension, no smirks of arrogance, just the gentle hum of life reclaiming itself. I looked around, taking in the rooms that had once been filled with betrayal, lies, and humiliation. And for the first time in months, I felt a sense of calm. It wasn't instant happiness, healing never is, but it was peace. Real, solid, earned peace. I walked down the hall to my children's room. They were asleep, little faces soft with innocence, unaware of how close their world had been to collapsing. I sat on the edge of the bed, brushing a stray strand of hair from my child's forehead, feeling a surge of love so raw it nearly brought me to my knees. These were the lives that mattered, the hearts I needed to protect and for them. I had endured the storm, faced humiliation, and witnessed betrayal beyond measure. In the days that followed, life began to rebuild itself. I focused on what truly mattered: laughter, routines, and small victories that stitched our broken days into something whole again. The fear that had once lurked in shadows, the shadow of doubt that our actions had cast over our home, slowly dissolved. I saw my children smile without hesitation, heard their voices without tension, and felt a freedom I hadn't known in years. She was gone. The man she had worshipped had fallen into the consequences they had never imagined. Karma had walked its path. I didn't celebrate their ruin, I didn't need to, but the satisfaction of justice, quiet and inevitable, was sweeter than revenge ever could be. I realized that life doesn't always give closure in dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it comes quietly, in the return of normalcy, in the security of those you love, and in the knowledge that the truth eventually catches up. I stood in the living room one evening, watching my children play, their laughter filling spaces that had once been heavy with deceit. And I understood something I had only truly grasped through the pain. Betrayal can break a heart, but it can also awaken a strength you never knew existed. I had been humiliated, deceived, and tested, but I had survived, rebuilt, and grown stronger. As the sun set through the window, warm light spilling across our home, I whispered to myself what I had promised months ago. We are safe now. We are free. And karma always finds a way. I took a deep breath, smiling softly, knowing that the future we deserved was finally ours, and nothing could take that away.